My fiancé ran away with my stepsister before our wedding after hurting me deeply. They came back asking for help. Hello, my name is Jane, a 28-year-old history enthusiast who loves storytelling. My life has been a whirlwind of emotions, filled with moments of joy and heartache. Let me tell you about how I met John, my college sweetheart, and the journey we shared together. John and I met during our sophomore year of college in a history class, which was fitting for someone like me who loves the subject. We were paired up for a group project about ancient civilizations, and from the moment we started working together, there was an undeniable connection. We spent hours in the library researching and discussing our project, but soon our conversations drifted from history to our personal lives, dreams, and passions. John was charming, intelligent, and had a great sense of humor. He made me laugh like no one else could. We started hanging out more, grabbing coffee after class, studying together, and going for walks around campus. Those little moments turned into dates, and before we knew it, we were inseparable. Our relationship blossomed as we navigated the ups and downs of college life. We supported each other through stressful exams, celebrated each other's achievements, and made countless memories together, from late-night study sessions to spontaneous road trips. Every moment with John was filled with joy and adventure. We had our share of challenges too. Balancing academics, part-time jobs, and personal lives was tough, and we had our fair share of disagreements and misunderstandings. But each obstacle we faced only made our bond stronger. We learned to communicate better, compromise, and support each other unconditionally. After 4 years of dating, John decided to take our relationship to the next level. He proposed to me in a romantic way, making me feel like I was living a fairy tale. I still blush and smile every time I think of that moment. It was on a beautiful autumn day, under the old oak tree on campus where we had shared so many special moments. John had planned everything perfectly. He led me to the tree, reminiscing about our time together and how much we had grown as a couple. Then, he got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. My heart skipped a beat as he asked me to marry him. With tears of joy in my eyes, I said yes, and we were officially engaged at 23. We were ready to start this new chapter of our lives together, and I was beyond excited to spend the rest of my life with the man I believed was my soulmate. Little did I know that life had a different plan in store for us, and my journey was about to take an unexpected turn. To me, our engagement was like a dream come true. John and I were so excited to start our life together. We spent months planning the perfect wedding. The venue was booked, invitations were sent, and every little detail was meticulously planned. I picked out my dream wedding dress, and we chose a beautiful location for the ceremony and reception. Everything was falling into place. During this time, Emily, my stepsister, started to get more involved in our lives. She offered to help with wedding preparations, and I welcomed her support, thinking she was genuinely trying to make up for the past. She helped me choose decorations, plan the menu, and even threw me a lovely bridal shower. It felt like we were finally becoming close sisters, and I was happy to have her by my side during such an important time. Talking about Emily, she is also 28, and we grew up together after our parents married when we were 8. Growing up with Emily was definitely tough. Even though we were the same age, she never seemed to accept me as her sister. In school, she was a constant source of stress. Emily was a bully, and unfortunately, her favorite target was me. She would tease me, make fun of me in front of her friends, and even spread nasty rumors about me. At home, it wasn't much better. Emily found ways to make me feel small and insignificant. She would hide my things, play pranks on me, and make mean comments whenever our parents weren't around. It felt like I was living in a nightmare, and I often wondered why she treated me this way. Our parents tried their best to handle the situation. My stepdad, whom I always called Dad, and my mom would scold her and try to talk some sense into her. That really put my mom in a dilemma, since every time she told Emily not to do such a thing, their relationship got worse. Mom couldn't do anything, as Emily had never treated her as a real mom. Both Mom and Dad tried different methods of discipline, hoping something would get through to her, but Emily seemed immune to their efforts. She would just shrug off their punishments and continue her bullying ways. Despite our turbulent past, my parents, especially my stepdad, who I consider my real father, always tried to mediate and create a harmonious family environment. My biological father had left shortly after I was born, and my stepdad had stepped into the father role with all his heart. Emily, on the other hand, always seemed to be on a different path, struggling to find her place in our family dynamic. By the time we reached high school, things had gotten out of hand. Emily's behavior was not just affecting me but causing tension in the entire household. My parents were at their wits' end. Finally, they decided to send her to a rehabilitation center for troubled teens during our sophomore year. It was a tough decision, but they felt it was the only way to help her change. Emily spent a year at the rehab center, and when she came back, she seemed different. She apologized to me for all the pain she had caused and promised that she had changed. She said that the time away had given her a new perspective, and she wanted to make amends. I was skeptical but hopeful. I wanted to believe that Emily had truly changed, so I decided to forgive her. We were about to go off to college, and I thought this could be a fresh start for both of us. For a while, things did seem better. Emily was nicer to me, and we started to build a tentative friendship. We would chat occasionally and even spend time together during holidays. It felt like we were finally becoming the sisters I had always hoped we could be. But, as I would later find out, this peace was short-lived, and the trust one had cautiously placed in Emily would be shattered in the most devastating way possible. Being the optimist that I am, I chose to forgive her, hoping that we could finally build a sisterly bond. Little did I know that this tentative peace would soon be shattered by an unimaginable betrayal. This is where my story begins, with my hopeful heart, complicated family ties, and an impending wedding that promised a new beginning. But as you'll see, life has a way of throwing unexpected curveballs. Just 1 week before the wedding, my world came crashing down. John disappeared. At first, I was worried something terrible had happened to him, but soon I found out the shocking truth. John had eloped with Emily. They left without saying a word, leaving me heartbroken and humiliated. John did leave a letter though. When I opened it, my hands were trembling. In it, he confessed that he and Emily had been having an affair for months. Each word felt like a dagger to my heart. He wrote that he realized he couldn't go through with our wedding because he was truly in love with Emily. He said that marrying me would be a lie and unfair to everyone involved. The part that truly stunned me was when he claimed that the universe had used me to bring him to his true love, Emily. The audacity of that statement left me speechless. He described their connection as something cosmic, destined. It was like he was trying to romanticize their betrayal, as if that would make it any less painful for me. John went on to say that he believed our relationship was just a stepping stone to lead him to Emily. He thanked me for all the good times we had shared and expressed a twisted gratitude for our time together, claiming it had ultimately brought him to his true soulmate. Reading those words, I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How could he be so cruel and self-absorbed? How could Emily, my own stepsister, go along with this and deceive me for months? The betrayal was beyond anything I could have imagined. My initial reaction was one of utter disbelief. I read the letter over and over, hoping I had misunderstood, but the painful truth was clear. John and Emily had plotted this together, and they had chosen to shatter my world without any regard for my feelings. It was a betrayal so deep it left me questioning everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and family. I didn't know how to react or what to do next. The wedding was off, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my broken heart. I spent the next few weeks in a daze, barely eating or sleeping. My dreams of a happy future with John were gone, and I was left with nothing but pain and confusion. When John and Emily eloped, it wasn't just me who was devastated. Our families were in shock too. John's parents were mortified by their son's actions. They felt so ashamed that they insisted on covering all the wedding expenses. They apologized profusely and tried to make amends in any way they could. They were embarrassed and deeply sorry for what John had done. On the other hand, my parents were furious, especially my stepdad, who has always been like a real father to me. He couldn't believe that Emily, whom he had raised as his own daughter, could betray me in such a terrible way. He was so angry that he seriously considered hiring a private detective to track down John and Emily to get some answers and maybe even bring them back to face the consequences. My parents' anger mirrored my own heartbreak, and their support was a small comfort during such a painful time. As for me, the betrayal was so overwhelming that I had a complete emotional breakdown. I couldn't eat, sleep, or even think straight. The dreams and plans I had for my future with John were shattered, and I was left with nothing but pain and confusion. I needed therapy to cope with the trauma. Talking to a professional helped me process my feelings and begin to heal. It was a slow and painful journey. I withdrew from social life completely. I couldn't face the pitying looks or the endless questions from friends and family, so I buried myself in work, trying to keep myself busy. It was the only thing that helped distract me from the pain. I threw myself into my job, working long hours to keep my mind occupied. It wasn't the healthiest way to deal with things, but at that moment, it was the only way I could survive. The combination of therapy and keeping busy with work gradually helped me start to piece my life back together. Although it felt like I was just going through the motions day by day, I began to feel a little stronger. Update on my life. After the shock and heartache of John's betrayal, my life took a new direction. My stepdad, seeing how devastated I was, decided to hand over the family business to me, a role that was originally intended for Emily. It was a big responsibility, but he believed in me and wanted to give me something positive to focus on. At first, I was hesitant. I had a degree in history, not business, and I wasn't sure if I could handle it. But my stepdad assured me that I could learn and that he would be there to guide me. So, I threw myself into learning everything about the business. I took courses, read books, and spent long hours at the office. My dedication paid off, and I gradually became more confident in my role. Running the business wasn't easy, but it gave me a sense of purpose. I was determined to succeed, not just for myself but to show my stepdad that he had made the right decision. Over time, I became quite good at it, and the business thrived under my management. My parents were proud, and I felt a renewed sense of accomplishment. While managing the family business kept me busy, I also knew that I needed to heal emotionally. Therapy played a crucial role in my recovery. My therapist helped me process the betrayal and work through my feelings of anger, sadness, and loss. It was a long and sometimes painful journey, but gradually I started to feel more like myself again. As I began to heal, I also started to rediscover my interests and rebuild my social life. I took up new hobbies like painting and hiking, which gave me a creative outlet and helped me relax. I reconnected with old friends and made an effort to meet new people. Slowly but surely, my social circle expanded, and I started to feel a sense of community and belonging again. Through all of this, I realized that I was stronger than I had ever imagined. The betrayal had been a devastating blow, but it didn't define me. I found new passions, built new relationships, and created a life that I was proud of. Moving on wasn't easy, but it was possible, and I was determined to make the most of my second chance at happiness. New update about Emily and John. After eloping and leaving me heartbroken, Emily and John's fairy tale didn't turn out as they had planned. I found out about their troubles through Mom and Dad, who had kept tabs on them through the grapevine. One day during a family dinner, my parents sat me down and told me everything they had heard. Apparently, Emily and John were facing constant financial struggles. John couldn't keep a stable job, bouncing from one gig to another, and Emily, who had quit her job to follow John, found it nearly impossible to re-enter the workforce. The gaps in her resume, along with the bad reputation they had earned, made it tough for them to find decent employment. Mom and Dad told me that Emily and John were living a hand-to-mouth existence, barely making ends meet with whatever odd jobs they could find. Their once glamorous romantic escapade was now a harsh reality filled with financial woes and constant stress. Their situation was becoming increasingly dire, and it was clear they were struggling to cope. Hearing this news stirred a mix of emotions in me. Part of me felt a sense of justice, knowing that they were facing the consequences of their actions. However, another part of me, despite everything, felt a pang of pity. It was hard to completely shut off the feelings I had for Emily as my stepsister, even after all she had done. One day, there was an unexpected knock on my door. I opened it to find Emily standing there, looking worn out and desperate. It was a shock to see her after all that had happened. I stood there in silence, waiting for her to speak. Emily started by explaining how tough things had been for her and John. She looked around nervously before finally getting to the point. She needed a job and was hoping I could help. She mentioned that she knew about the family business and thought that given our history and the fact that it was originally intended for her, I would feel obligated to give her a position. Her entitlement was infuriating. She spoke as if she had a right to the job despite everything she had done. I could feel my anger rising, but I tried to stay calm. I told her firmly that I couldn't and wouldn't help her. The business was running well under my management, and I didn't want someone I couldn't trust working there. Emily's face fell, and she started to plead, reminding me of our shared past and how she was in desperate need. But I stood my ground. I explained that her actions had consequences and that she couldn't just waltz back into my life and expect me to fix her problems. She had made her choices, and now she had to deal with the results. I ended the conversation by telling her she needed to find help elsewhere and shut the door feeling a mix of anger and relief. It was a tough confrontation, but I knew I had done the right thing by standing up for myself and protecting what I had worked so hard to build. After I refused to help Emily, she didn't take it well. Instead of accepting my decision, she started causing disturbances at my office. She would show up unannounced, yelling and making a scene in front of my employees and clients. It was embarrassing and disruptive. I tried to handle it quietly at first, hoping she would stop, but Emily just kept coming back, each time more aggressive than before. It was clear that she wasn't going to back down. I decided to consult with my parents about the situation. They were supportive and encouraged me to protect myself and the business. Finally, after one particularly bad outburst, where Emily started banging on the office doors and shouting accusations, I knew I had no choice. I called the cops. It was a tough decision, but I needed to put a stop to her harassment for the sake of my sanity and my company. When the police arrived, they quickly assessed the situation and took Emily away. She was charged with trespassing and disturbing the peace. The charges were minor, but they sent a clear message that her behavior was unacceptable. Emily didn't take her arrest lightly. She confronted our parents, furious that they had sided with me. She accused them of always favoring me and treating her unfairly. My stepdad firmly told her that she had brought this on herself and that they supported my decision to call the police. It was heartbreaking to see our family torn apart like this, but my parents stood by me, reinforcing that I had made the right choice for my safety and the business's well-being. After her arrest, Emily decided to leave town. She realized that staying would only lead to more confrontations and legal trouble. Her departure brought a sense of temporary relief. For the first time in weeks, I could go to work without fear of her showing up and causing a scene. As I reflected on the entire ordeal, I felt a mix of guilt and empathy. Despite everything she had done, Emily was still my stepsister. I wondered if there was something more I could have done to help her without compromising my own well-being. In the end, I decided that my own well-being and the health of the family business had to come first. While I felt sorry for Emily, I knew that enabling her behavior would only cause more harm. I resolved to focus on my own growth and the business, keeping a firm boundary between us. However, I kept an open mind about possibly helping her in the future, but only if she showed genuine change and responsibility. With Emily gone, I could finally breathe and plan for the future. I continued to invest in the family business, making it even more successful. I also focused on my personal growth, continuing therapy and exploring new interests. I reconnected with friends, made new ones, and slowly rebuilt my social life. The experience had made me stronger and more resilient. I was determined to move forward, leaving the past behind. John and Emily eventually found their footing, though not without difficulties. They remained distant, choosing to live their lives away from our family. My parents and I maintained a cautious but hopeful outlook, wishing them well but keeping our distance. As for me, things were much better. After I took over the business, I discovered a sense of independence and contentment that I hadn't known before. There's one good news I'd like to share. I eventually met someone new, a sweet man named Charles. We met at a business conference where he was giving a talk on entrepreneurship. His passion and intelligence immediately caught my attention. After his presentation, I approached him to discuss some of the ideas he had shared, and we ended up talking for hours. It felt easy and natural, like we had known each other for years. Charles was different from anyone I had ever met. He was kind, understanding, and genuinely interested in me as a person. We started dating slowly, taking our time to get to know each other. He was patient and respectful, understanding that I needed to move at my own pace after everything I had been through. As our relationship grew, Charles showed me what it felt like to be truly loved and cherished. He supported me in my business endeavors and celebrated my successes with genuine pride. We shared common interests, but he also introduced me to new hobbies and experiences that enriched my life. One of the most significant moments in our relationship was when he met my parents. They immediately took a liking to him, seeing how happy and at ease he made me. It was a relief to have their approval and support. Charles and I built a strong foundation of trust and respect. We communicated openly, and he always made me feel valued and appreciated. With him, there were no secrets, no hidden agendas, just a pure, honest love that healed my heart in ways I never thought possible. We traveled together, exploring new places and creating beautiful memories. We also enjoyed quiet nights at home, cooking dinner and watching movies. Every moment with Charles felt special, and I realized that I had found someone who truly understood and loved me for who I was. My journey had brought me full circle. I had gone from heartbreak to finding a love that was genuine and profound. With Charles by my side, I felt confident and optimistic about the future. I knew that together, we could face whatever challenges came our way. That's my story. What do you think? I hope this will help anyone with a broken heart. Just remember, moving on is a choice. Choose to be independent, and one day it could lead you to a better place. Believe me.